Hello everyone, my name is Cullen Smith. I'm a published author. Today I would like to introduce you all to my brand new published book, The Hive Mind Invasion of Civilization, a compendium of esoteric science, symbolism, and universal secrets. If you'd like to purchase this book, you can head over to my brand new website that I've set up at liftingtheveil.tv, and I will see all of you there. But then I want to also show some of my evidence and hear the flat earth explanations for why that is, because I know the flat earth explanations. They all are claiming that the sun circles above the flat earth and that it's a Tesla coil and that it miraculously, goes up higher, which accounts for the solar analemmas, which it doesn't actually. But my point is that that's objectively not what the sun does in reality. So we can easily disprove this by, do you know what an equatorial mount is on a telescope? You should know that by now, because it's a main point that totally debunks the flat earth that has been discussed numerous times that flat earthers cannot even explain because they don't know what it is. Do you know what a solar filter is, which blocks out most of the light that overexposes a footage of the sun if you're photographing? So this is what flat earthers don't understand. Let me explain this to you guys. But an equatorial mount uses a singular axis to track any celestial object. You can set it to track the moon, to track any certain star. You can use it to track the sun. But this is the main thing that flat earthers need to understand about anytime you're photographing or filming the sun, you have to use a solar filter in order to see the actual size of the sun. Because otherwise, the exposure of the sunlight is going to obscure your footage, and it's going to make the sun either appear much larger or much smaller than it actually is. And so that's the main point that flat earth photographers or anyone viewing any, sun changes, the sun gets larger or smaller, vanishes into the horizon. If you're viewing any flat earth videos or any recordings or taking photographs or telescopic footage of the sun, this is the main point. You have to use a solar filter. The reason why is because it's the exposure of the sunlight into the lens that will make it appear that the sun is getting smaller as it vanishes into the horizon. And the reason why it does that is because if there's heavy cloud cover, if there's a lot of cloud cover obscuring the sun, it's going to make it appear that the sun is shrinking off into the distance as it gets smaller, so this is where we can't cherry pick evidence. Like if you do a simple basic Google search, you go and Google search, sunset, a sunset time lapse. Sunset.
Well, let's have a look at one, shall we?
Time lapse GIF.
I've got one right here. Let me share my screen, please.
Okay, well I've got them right here also. Here's one and I show them in the video also. Here's one right there.
All right. Well, I think I'm sharing now. So let's enjoy this.
All right. Here's an eye-opener video. This is a 5-day time lapse up in the Arctic. Okay, you see the sun is going to go down. It's getting
hold on, I'm not seeing your screen.
And here it's not going down. It's coming back.
Let's stop this.
I don't know if it's just on my thing. But yeah, I'm not seeing your screen. I can hear it, but I can't see what he's showing.
Okay.
I don't know if it's something I did or.
What about now?
Notice that the camera is moving 360.
Can you see?
All right, here's an eye-opener video.
Let me see. Back to meeting.
All right. Here's an eye-opener.
Can you see that?
No, I'm just seeing. I'm not. Show active. Show thumbnail video. Show active speaker video. I know that just shows you. It shows both of us. I'm not seeing your screen. Back to meeting.
All right.
Stop share. Sharing is paused. Bring your shared. I think it's still sharing my screen.
Okay. All right. Can you stop sharing?
Okay. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Now I can see.
Okay. All right. So
okay. Yeah. Now I can see it.
Let's have a look at this.
Okay. 5-day time lapse in the Arctic.
5-day time lapse.
Hang on a minute.
Up in the Arctic.
Yeah.
Okay,
The point is, we could do that in the Antarctic as well.
It hasn't been done in the Antarctica. It hasn't.
But it could. Yeah, well, actually, I think that's false, because I think in the video that I have, I think NOAA actually included a time lapse footage of the sun the entire, because in the Antarctic it's a 24-hour daylight. The sun never sets in Antarctica, and I'm pretty sure there's footage of that from the Antarctic as well. But so, anyways, go ahead with the video, and I'll see what I have to say about it.
Okay, well, first of all, it's not 24-hour daylight, it's 24-hour twilight from the people who have been there. All the people who come back say they never see the sun ever, ever, ever when they're in the Antarctica. They've never, ever seen the sun. It's always twilight.
Why doesn't the sun set in Antarctica for half the year?
G'day Grace, you might not know this, but the Earth's on an angle. So in the summer, the South Pole, or Antarctica, is tilted towards the sun and receives the direct sunlight from the sun for about half the year. 6 months later, the Earth is rotated to the other side of the sun and we're in winter. So down here in Antarctica, or the South Pole, we don't receive any light at all for nearly 6 months.
This presentation is there is a 24-hour day or night at the poles. I would invite the students to look at our globe here, specifically at the North Pole. And as I rotate the globe, I'm going to ask them to tell me when they see the sunlight shining on the North Pole. The students would observe that the sunlight does not hit the North Pole at this time of the year, and that it stays dark all day and all night. The sun does not rise at the North Pole during this time of the year. If I move so that we have summer in the Northern Hemisphere, and then ask the students to observe again what's happening at the North Pole, they would observe that the sun never sets at this time of the year in the North Pole, and that they have sunlight almost all day and all night. If we look at this chart, it demonstrates the same thing we were just looking at with the globe. If we look over here, this is winter in the Northern Hemisphere, and the North Pole does not have sunlight. It does not have a sunrise or a sunset. It stays dark throughout the day and night. As we move around over to summer in the Northern Hemisphere, it points out that we have daylight all day and all night in the North Pole. If we go back to the globe and look at the North Pole and the area surrounding the North Pole, we have a line that goes around, and we call this the Arctic Circle. And in the Arctic Circle, there is a day where the sun never rises and it never sets, at least once. If we move our globe, at the South Pole, we also have a line that goes around the area, and that is the Antarctic Circle. And here too we have a day where the sun never rises or sets. As an extension, you could offer the information to the students that the word Arctic comes from a Greek word arctos, meaning bear. The Greeks noticed that there was one star in the sky that stayed in the same position, and it showed them north. We call that star Polaris, or the North Star. The name that they gave the constellation that the star was in was Ursa Minor, or Little Bear.
And yet this is in the northern hemisphere. Now, I'm trying to make this big. How do I freaking do that?
You should just there should be a button at the, there you go. There should be a button at the, or just double click it.
All right, here we go.
All right, here's an eye-opener video. This is a 5-day time lapse up in the Arctic. Okay, you see the sun is going to go down. It's getting smaller.
No, it's actually, no, it's not changing size whatsoever.
Hang on.
Around.
Hang
Notice
on.
that the camera is moving 360 degrees. 1 day has passed. Okay, it's going to the second day. You can see the sun is moving down again and getting smaller, but coming back around again. Notice that the camera rotating 360 degrees. Second day. We're on to our third day. So if you look at this, this proves that it's a flat Earth. The sun
No, it
gets
doesn't.
smaller again, coming back around. This is near the Arctic. Now, if this was if the globe theory held true, this is near where the access point of the globe would be. So the sun you shouldn't have to rotate the camera at all, really. You can see the sun getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's a local sun, about 3,000 miles away. Once again, the Arctic is near the access point on the globe. Therefore, you shouldn't have to spin the camera 360 degrees per day. But here, this proves it. It does. Not only take note of the fact that the size of the sun gets bigger as it's coming towards noon, and then look, it's going to get smaller. Guys, wake up and share. All right, here's an
Okay. Okay, so let me explain that. Let me explain what he, yeah. Let me,
okay.
All right. Got it.
So first of all, the sun did not change size. Again, that footage is not using a solar filter. And this is what the main point is so important, because the light is overexposing the footage, which means that there's a halo around the sun, the corona, and that's obscuring the actual objective silhouette of the size of the sun. So that footage is not using a solar filter, and that's not his footage. I'm sure the person that took the footage will fully understand this. They're not using a solar filter. If you use the solar filter, you'll see that sun is not actually changing size. It appears to be changing size because the light is simply obscuring the actual size of the sun. And second of all, that footage alone right there proves that the Earth is not flat. That's not what the sun would do if it was circling over a flat Earth. So again, that camera was swiveling on a singular axis the entire time. It was using probably an equatorial mount. An equatorial mount tracks the position of any singular object in the sky. You can track any single star, you can track the moon, you can track the sun, and the way it tracks is it sets the coordinates to a single axis, and it aligns itself with the axis of the Earth, the tilt of the Earth. And so what that does is you can track the sun all day long, and if you're not in the Arctic, what that does is you observe the sun as it comes up from beneath the horizon. It tracks directly overhead in a single line over the sky, and then it goes down and it sets beneath the horizon, and then the telescope will continue on a single axis. That means it goes from east to west, and it still tracks the sun as it goes down underneath the Earth. And then if you do it for 48 hours and 24 hours, it'll come up the other side, and it'll do it all over again. And it will track the position of the sun using a single rotational axis. And the way it does that is it's well known in photography and astronomy. Using a telescope, you have to use an equatorial mount. But so in that video footage, the sun, the camera was turning the entire time. It would not have to turn if the Earth was flat. Now, I'm not really thinking about what it would be like from the pole. See, this gets all convoluted why I record videos to explain things. But so, yeah, that's not what it would be doing on a flat Earth. It wouldn't be going off into the distance and then coming back and then going off. On a flat Earth, it would circle overhead, and then it would circle far out and around, and then it would go off again directly straight in front of you, way off in the distance, and it would vanish, get smaller and smaller, vanish off into the distance. But the point about that is you could use a telescope and you could simply zoom into the sun, and it would be daylight 24 hours a day. The light from the sun would not just vanish on one half of the earth. That's not how light works. Truthersy explained this fully in his videos. Numerous flat earth debunking videos explain this. On a flat earth, what is there, like a wall that prevents the sunlight from hitting the other half of the earth where it's night? And so it's day on one half of the earth, but the light just somehow stops.
Yes, so it's called the delineator, and I've seen it with my own eyes in 2002. In 2002, I was flying from Perth, Australia, easterly to Melbourne, back to Melbourne, and it was 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Everything 180 degrees in front of us was pitch black, dark. And everything 180 degrees behind us was light time. We were in the middle of the delineator, and everyone was gasping in the aeroplane. They couldn't believe what they were witnessing. Half the day was black and half the day was bright as can be. And not only that, there was a rainbow for 180 degrees on the bottom of the lit up side. Behind us, on the lit up side, there was a perfect rainbow flat on the flat earth. If the earth were a globe, you couldn't have a 180 degree rainbow sitting there on the earth. That was a remarkable day. I witnessed that with my own eyes. I saw the delineator, yes. And there are pictures, you can see pictures of the delineator in many, many videos where people marvel that one half of the sky is dark and night and the other half is bright.
Yeah, that happens. That's because of the curvature of the earth, where you can see the shadow. That's what happens when the sun sets. There is a line where the sunlight no longer reaches, and that's where the shadow of the night creeps as the earth rotates and the night creeps over. Is because the sunlight is being blocked and obscured by the curvature of the earth. The sun is going to the other, or appears to be going. The earth is rotating, so the sun is now on the other side of the earth, and therefore the light is not reaching that part. So it's because of the shadow. That's the shadow. That's the shadow of the curvature of the earth that you're seeing. That's the curve. It
was 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and the sun was high up in the sky.
Okay, well, the
sun was not even set, hadn't even set. It was 4 o'clock.
Okay, well, I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't seen what you're talking about, so I can't comment on it.
Well, but you can't misrepresent what the camera gets. How can the sun? Have a look at this. There's your sun.
Yeah, but you can misinterpret and misrepresent what the camera is picking up there. Because I know for a fact that you don't actually fully understand what it is that you're observing there. You're just trusting what somebody else has told you it is.
Are you watching this sun in the clouds?
No, not right now. I'm trying to look up the timestamp for where we actually address these points specifically in the video.
Well, I hope my audience can see it, because there is the sun sitting just on top of the clouds.
Okay, so you're saying that's the sun sitting on top of the clouds. Yeah, see, that's another effect that's not filmed with a solar filter. That's an effect that is caused. It's an optical illusion that is caused by any time an object, the brightness of the sun is so bright that it looks like objects are behind the sun or it's sitting on top of it. That's not the case. It is going down beneath the horizon, and that's the reflection of the sunlight off of the precipitation in the clouds.
But the horizon is way, way behind it. You can see clearly the horizon's 1,000 miles.
If they had filmed that with a solar filter, it would look entirely different. You would not see any clouds in that footage. You would see only the outline of the sun.
You can see the horizon.
Because
way behind it.
Okay, so let us return back to, I'll show you with your own eyes. Let me do a screen share of the solar filter so I can finish making this point about why it looks like the sun is beneath the clouds or going underneath the clouds and all that stuff. It's because it's not filmed with a solar filter. It's filmed with an iPhone camera from inside so let me screen share real quick. Share sound, share screen. So let me finish making this one point. I'll try not to take too much time on it because there's numerous other points that we could address.
Because the light flare is obscuring the actual...
What happened?
All of that that lens flare
all of that overexposure, and it reveals just the actual silhouette.
So this is the footage of if you're using a solar filter on a telescope. This is viewing the sun through a telescope with a solar filter. That's called this telescope is a Coronado. This is Wolfie's footage on his channel, Wolfie 60.
The actual size of the sun itself.
So here is the footage from the telescope, and because it is a hydrogen alpha solar scope, it allows us to see surface detail and also the prominences. I had the camera taking one frame every 2 seconds, and I compiled the time lapse at 30 frames per second. So 1 minute of footage here represents 1 hour of real time. As I fast forward through the video, you can see very clearly the rotation of the sun. Looking at this feature here, and a few spots up in this part of the sun, as I move back and forth, you can see the spherical nature of the sun and the fact that it is rotating.
Yep, the sun rotates.
Yeah, I know. That's not the main point that I wanted to show.
What we are seeing, and that allows us to see the angle of the Earth at south 34 degrees latitude in Sydney as it would appear from the North Pole. When the sun sets, we can see the orientation of the Earth.
So this is time-lapse we're seeing right here in the screen. This is time-lapse footage of the sun filmed through a telescope using a Coronado solar filter and a solar telescope. It's meant to film and photograph the sun. And this right here, this is the moment where the sun goes beneath the horizon. It's using an equatorial mount. So this would be north. This is the north. This is the top of the sun up here. This is the horizon, this angle right here, because the telescope is angled at the same axis as the Earth's rotation. So this is the sun actually setting beneath the horizon right there. So we can see clearly using a solar filter that the sun does not vanish off in the distance and it gets smaller and smaller, nor does it stay above the horizon 24 hours a day. It clearly, observably, objectively, you can look up any sunset time-lapse GIF on the internet. Don't cherry pick, look up the ones that disagree with that will clearly show that the sun stays the same size all day long as it sets beneath the horizon. And then you can prove that it went beyond the horizon because you can take a drone, you can raise it up, which he also did this in the same video. He filmed it from a drone and watched the sun as it sets beneath the horizon. And then you can raise the altitude of the drone to way up high, and voila, it reveals the sun again. And then you can watch it as it sets beneath the horizon even further, because the higher you are up, the more you can see over the horizon. So you can watch the sunset multiple times. And that's how we know that it's not staying above, circling the flat Earth, that it's not disappearing off in the horizon, that it's not above the horizon 24 hours a day. It sets beneath the horizon of the Earth. Now you could say that, oh, well, the Earth is flat and the sun somehow goes beneath the flat Earth and then somehow comes back up above the flat Earth. But you could say that you could maybe try to argue that, but then we could debunk that a million different ways till Sunday. But what it does not do is it does not circle above the flat Earth. So we can.
Hang on a minute. We just saw it circling. If the sun wasn't circling in that little video that we just saw of the time lapse 5 times, if you get a globe in a dark room and you get a light source over there, and you tilt the globe at 23.5 degrees, first of all, here's a question for you. That guy was filming at the Arctic Circle. How many degrees latitude do you think he was at?
I have no idea. We have no idea. We would have to ask the guy who filmed the footage. Well, let's not make assumptions and draw false conclusions based on things we don't know. Let's use things we do know.
Well, for a start, if the Earth is tilted at 23.5 degrees, you can do this experiment in your own room. You have a light source over there, and you turn that globe around, it will be, because it's only at a tilt of 23.5 degrees, when the Earth is tilted that way against the source of light, it will be pitch black. But you didn't see any of that. You saw continuous light, continuous light. If the Earth is tilted at 23.5 degrees, there would be black, darkness, day, darkness. You can do this in your own room. You'd have to tilt the Earth so much, much, much more for there to be a 24-hour sun, unless that guy was right at the North Pole, unless he was within 23.5 degrees of the North Pole, which is highly unlikely because no one goes that far. No one, not even air flights. They don't go anywhere near the North Pole because it's a magnetic mountain. It's a vortex. It's in another reality. It's where the aurora borealis happens, and they don't go anywhere near that. That's why you never see anyone.
That's not true.
When I was a little boy, there were hundreds of explorers that went to the North Pole and stuck their flag in there. Why don't we just get a drone now? Why don't we tomorrow get some rich guy who's got $100,000, got a big drone, get him to fly his drone over the North Pole where all those flags are, and let's see that. Yeah. The North Pole rotate. Let's see the globies do that because they always want us to show the edge. Why don't you show us the edge?
Okay.
Why don't you show us the edge? Why don't we go to the South Pole and the North Pole and watch the globe turn? Because there's none of that. It's never happened in history.
Well, watch this. Is the screen still sharing? Watch this real quick. It's not it's a short clip.
Between Friday afternoon and Sunday evening. This will be a weekend to remember.
In 1970, I forget what year, 1970 something, Flight 50 was the first flight to circumnavigate the globe from over the North Pole, over the South Pole, and all the way back. Instead of circumnavigating the globe horizontally across the equator, it went above the North Pole and over the South Pole as well. And
and by the way, and it's the only time in history that it's ever happened?
No, that happens numerous times. There are still commercial flights to this day. There's still commercial flights that go directly over the North Pole all the time. It's not as common going over the South Pole because it's extremely treacherous. Most flights, they usually don't want to go over huge bodies of water if they can avoid it. So they go other ways, but there are still flights that go over the South Pole. But there's flights...
Do you know what Encyclopedia Britannica in 1958 said? They said they went to Antarctica and they went all the way around and they found that the dome was 13,000 meters high at Antarctica. They call it the firmament, the dome, the vault. They said it is 13,000 miles high and they can't penetrate that dome.
What?
Encyclopedia Britannica. They must be so stupid about that. Not a very scientific book, is it?
Well, you would have to show me. But first, I want to show you this clip right here.
The first leg of the flight will take them on a north-northeast course over Oregon.
If I could play this on like 2 times speed, I would, but I have to just play normal speed.
And Western Canada, across the Arctic Circle, and over the North Pole. Then they'll head south, fly east of Greenland and Iceland, over the coast of Norway, and on to England. From London, Flight 50 heads almost due south, over France and the Mediterranean, across Algeria and the Sahara Desert, and then down the entire length of the African continent to the southern tip, and Cape Town, South Africa. The flight will take 11 hours and 6 minutes, one of 7 speed records set by Flight 50. Interesting leg of the trip, 7,550 miles across the South Atlantic and the frozen expanses of Antarctica, over the South Pole, then across the South Pacific to Auckland, New Zealand. It's the first time any plane has flown this route. Another first. The route for the final leg will be all over water. It will pass west of Tahiti, then cross the vast Central Pacific, fly east of the Hawaiian Islands, and finally land at San Francisco, completing its circle of the globe.
And he covers.
So there's the first commercial flight that took a full plane full of full passengers over the North Pole.
Where's the North Pole? What I'm saying is, why don't we get Elon Musk, because his car can go anywhere, why don't we get it just to land on the North Pole, have 4 cameras there, 2 flat earthers and 2 globies, so that we can have fairness. We bring 4 people that are of different schools. We all go there with a helicopter to the North Pole, and we watch the North Pole and the South Pole do a turn in 24 hours. That would fix all of your problems.
Well, yeah,
straight away. But you can never, ever do it.
My friend, I talked to her about this because she dated Elon Musk there for a brief little period, and she's still on a text message basis with him. In fact, she accidentally drunk texted him while I was visiting her. So I tried to convince her. I was like, see if first of all, I was like, send him some of my information about my Inoculum of Truth COVID documentary, see what he has to say about any of that stuff. And then I was like, okay, well, if the Earth's flat, because she's a hardcore flat earther too, and we couldn't even talk about this because, like, if I tried to talk about this like I'm talking about it with you, like, she would get so pissed at me. She would say, your tone of voice is violent. I'm like, I'm just trying to explain facts. Facts aren't violent. But so anyways.
Exactly. And I agree with her. It's all the globies who are vile and disgusting. I get death threats every day. I had a guy tell me when I was in Australia that he was going to come and visit me and rape me with my guitar because of flat earth. I had a guy in Oregon come to murder me because of flat earth. He was jealous
that's great.
Me. And he got himself murdered with his own baseball bat and knife within 15 minutes.
Okay, well, let's try and keep the conversation, on just information, because I don't want it to get banned.
The globies are the killers. They are the murderers.
I don't want it to get banned from YouTube or Facebook, so don't use speech that we don't need to be talking about. So we don't need to be talking about any of that stuff. And honestly, so I don't know. Since you're smoking, I guess we can't put this on YouTube anyways now. But
why? I'm only smoking
because you're not allowed to smoke or drink on YouTube. It's a bad example for children, and you're not allowed to do that on. It's basic YouTube rules. Everybody knows this. It'll get the video banned or demonetized, or probably even maybe even stricken down for community guidelines violations. This is just basic stuff we can't do, unfortunately. But yeah. So anyways, back to the information. Yeah, so I mean, there's commercial flight. I mean, so we wouldn't need to do that. We could just simply have what they're already doing, which is there's Elon Musk and what's his face, the Virgin Mobile guy. They're already doing commercial space flights where people can pay money for a ticket to fly a rocket into space, view the Earth from space. So now so if flat earthers want to, they can pool all their money together. They can buy themselves a ticket on a rocket to view the Earth from space. So we're now in the era where we no longer have to be like, oh, we can't ever see the Earth from space. There's no photos of the Earth from space. That's bullshit. It's always been bullshit. It's a myth. It's totally easily debunked. Anybody now, if you've got enough money, can fly into space and view the Earth for yourself. But then we could get into all the excuses like, oh, well, the windows on the rocket, they're just curved windows, and it's all a conspiracy. They're trying to curve the windows to make it look like the horizon, like the Earth is curved when it's actually flat. So sure, we can make all those excuses all we want, but we have infinite other ways to prove that the Earth is not flat, such again, the objective footage of the sun. So let's be scientific about it. Let's not cherry pick one single example of the footage from the North Pole. Let's look at all the footage that's out there of the sun setting beneath the horizon, where you can't make these, misconceptions and misrepresentations. If it's true, it will always be proved. It can easily be proven from every angle. The truth fears no investigation. If something is true in nature, it can always be repeatable from anywhere on the globe, and it will explain itself from all the different aspects. So let's not cherry pick one example from the North Pole. Let's look at any example of the sunset footage of sun setting beneath the horizon. So
objectively false. That's objectively not the case. Because if you take it, so this is the thing, the sun does not circle around above our heads and then go off out into the distance. It doesn't do that because you can take an equatorial mount on a telescope. What that is, he explains it fully in his videos much better than I can explain it here without all the tools to actually show you with your own eyes. But an equatorial mount uses a singular axis to track any celestial object. You can use it, you can set it to track the moon.
So this is a real model of what the sun actually does in nature from our observation point on the Earth. And sure, it shows a flat plane here, but that's just a representation of our position on the Earth. And this is what the sun, what we actually observe in reality. The sun goes at an angle and an arc above our heads, directly above our heads at high noon, where there's no shadow, and then it goes down and it goes beneath the horizon, and it goes beneath the horizon, it comes back up. That's what we objectively observe in nature. It doesn't circle around us all day long, never setting below the horizon, because again, we could use a telescope from one side of the flat Earth and view the sun above the horizon from on the other side of the flat Earth. And we can't use the excuse that, oh, well, the telescope is obscured by the hydrogen atoms in the atmosphere. It doesn't do that. A telescope is powerful enough to view all the way to the other side of the flat Earth if the Earth was flat. It's a lame excuse. But so anyways, let's continue to watch the sun set.
To track any certain star, you can use it to track
There's
the
a
sun.
single footage of the sun setting beneath the horizon that's clearly not getting smaller. It's observably not vanishing off above.
You can bring that sun straight back up with a zoom.
Yes, no. You cannot zoom back in and have that sun get larger again. That would not happen.
You absolutely can.
You absolutely
I have a friend
cannot.
in Australia who's done it. I have a friend in Australia who's
Did
done
he use a solar? Did he use a solar filter?
Yes, he did. He used everything. He's a professional. He's a
Sure he is. I'm sure he's a professional.
Yeah, he's a professional.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
You say I'm a liar now.
I'm saying that all flat earthers claim to be professionals at things that they are not.
Has been a professional photographer, interviewer. He's been a
So we can ask him. We can ask him if that footage. We can ask him if that footage was filmed with a solar filter, and we can know if it was filmed with a solar filter. It's easy to see if it used a solar filter, and I guarantee you, if the sun got larger again, what we can do with this footage here that's showing on screen is we could use it. If we elevated our altitude, the sun would begin to appear above the horizon again. But if we went lower in altitude, it would go further beneath the horizon. So we could watch it set numerous times if we raised our elevation, such as climbing up on top of a mountain and watching the sun, or just if we were using a drone filming this and raise the altitude of the drone way up thousands of feet higher, we would see the sun start to come back up from beneath the horizon. And then it would continue to set beneath the horizon once again, because that's what it does. You could not zoom in on the sun here and get larger and come back above the horizon. It would not do that.
I've seen it done many times. Absolutely, can be. That sun is not setting. That sun is curving. It is curving around. It appears to be going straight because that's an optical illusion. You must remember the sun is transcendental. It's not material. You can't triangulate the sun.
You're saying this is the sun curving right there, going beneath the horizon.
Absolutely, it's curving over the flat Earth, and
that's curving over the flat Earth. Then how is it not vanishing off and getting smaller? How is it not getting smaller?
Atmospheric refraction, atmospheric lensing, atmospheric aberration.
Okay. Well, my friend Noah, we fully explain all of the atmospheric lensing as well further on, way later in this film. It's 4.5 hours long, addressing each and every point, fully explaining it. We're not making fun of anybody. I mean, maybe we're poking a little jokes here and there, but only where it's appropriate. But we're mostly addressing just the information. So we address atmospheric lensing and atmospheric refraction as well. So, I mean, if we wanted to, we could go deep into that point, but I don't want to bounce around all over multiple different points. We can continue. So, okay, if that's the argument, is that it's not staying the same size. It's just atmospheric lensing and atmospheric refraction. Well, okay. Well, I would
sometimes here I watch the sun go down, and sometimes it's like this, and sometimes it's like that.
Exactly. It depends on how much clouds, how much the sun is obscured by cloud footage, or how much Yeah, how much the light...
It depends on the refraction index, and it depends on
Yeah,
the atmosphere and how dirty and polluted it is. Simple.
Yeah, that's true. That is a factor that does come into account occasionally, sometimes, not all the time. But here's another time-lapse footage. So here's another main point. So if you use a time-lapse footage of the sun, so here's footage of what on the flat Earth we could consider is the celestial sphere and the sun both fixed together. So this is a time-lapse GIF. You can look up this GIF on Google. You can just type in time-lapse sunset GIF, and you'll find this image of the sun setting beneath the horizon. And you can see also the celestial sphere, how they're both fixed. The sun is fixed to the celestial sphere.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
What does that tell you? That they are all turning together. The same with comets. They're all set in the firmament, because we have a firmament above our heads.
So let me finish the point, explaining this on the video here real quick.
And the same fixed angle as they set beneath the horizon, which shows and proves to us that it is because of the Earth's tilt and the Earth's spinning on its axis, which is why it appears that the sun and the celestial sphere are both moving at the same fixed rate of speed and angle as they cross beneath the horizon. And we know this is because of the Earth's rotation, rather than in the flat Earth model, they think it's because the celestial sphere and the sun are both fixed, rotating above around the stationary flat Earth, which is not the case, because if that was so, then you would not see the angle of the celestial sphere and the sun going beneath the horizon at that angle, almost perpendicular to the horizon of the Earth. Instead, they would be rotating at a parallel angle above the horizon of the Earth, and so, which means the sun would never set, since it is fixed at the same speed as the celestial sphere, as we notice and observe with our eyes in reality. And so again, this angle of the celestial sphere,
so you have it. If the sun was fixed to the celestial sphere, it would be going horizontally above the flat Earth. So the sun never sets above the flat Earth. It never goes beneath the horizon. So it would not be at a perpendicular angle to where we're standing on the Earth, the horizon. It would not be perpendicular and going beneath the horizon, as we clearly observe in all the footage of the sun setting beneath the horizon. It does not, the celestial sphere does not circle at a parallel angle to the flat Earth, to the horizon.
Yeah,
it doesn't do that.
That's simply because of your perspective. That's a massive, massive perspective warp, and you should know that. You should know if you get a spoon and face it to you convexly, your image will be upright. If you turn it around concave, you're flipped upside down. We're talking about a concave, transcendental torus field that the sun is inside of. We're not talking about a mechanical clock here that is rigid or that is something that is tangible. The sun is not tangible, just like a rainbow. You'll see a rainbow, the guy next door can't see it, but it's because it's not tangible. The sun is just a condensed rainbow, and as it turns and it curves, that's where the vanishing point is. You cannot see past that vanishing point. It's just curving below because it's so far away, it seems to go down, but it does not. And all of the scriptures concur this. If you're not a scripture guy, that's great. Let's leave that for posterity, because I am. And I know that what is being taught today is pseudoscience, Copernican, New Age bullshit. I'm going with the ancients. I go with all the ancients. They were smart. They built Tartaria. The Jesuits destroyed it, and they created globalism because they knew, contrary to what you said before, they knew that there were going to be many voyages across the sea, and they knew that people were just going to work out that it's flat, so they had to start deluding the people. That's why it took them 200 years of opium wars with China to destroy and infiltrate their universities and destroy their square flat Earth model.
So you're saying the Earth is square now?
Well, they had a square version. Yes, there is a squareness. There are four corners within the roundness of the Earth. There is a a fourness to it. There are 4 pillars according to all the scriptures, even the Quran.
Where are the pillars located?
They are at the outer edges of the plane. That's why I'm thankful that you call it a planet, and not. I'm glad before that you said you called it a planet, not a globe, because planet simply means plane. So every time you use the word planet, know this. Huh?
Plane of Earth.
Yeah, planet of Earth. And yet, when you're a...
If you'd like to purchase this book, you can head over to my brand new website that I've set up. It's still very bare bones. There's a lot of work I need to do on the site, but for now it's got the basic things that I need on there until I upload all of my content. You can sign up for the newsletter to receive email updates on all of my posts as I begin to populate the site with all of my archives of articles, books, videos, and films and courses and all of that good stuff. So you'll get notifications as I begin to populate the website with all of my content on it. So that's a good reason to sign up right now, even though there's no content on it yet. But you can pick up my books there. I've got my Hive Mind book. I've also got a couple other titles that I've released for, which are just study aids. They are journals such as Divine Manifestations, a dream journal to log your dream and awakening experiences and to highlight any insights or intuitions that may come to you along your process of growth and exploration of all of this content. I've got a food journal to log your nutritional progress and to log your health and fitness progress as well. And I've got a 50 Days of Gratitude journal as well, and I will be releasing several more titles as well to help expand and explore your own creativity and things of that nature. So these make great gifts for any friends, beloved family, any loved ones. So these are great gifts that you can pick up and also support Lifting the Veil and the work that I do in the process. So feel free and head on over to my brand new website, liftingtheveil.tv. And I will see all of you there. All right, have a great day. Thank you. My name is Cullen Smith. This is Lifting the Veil. You can find all of my full books, presentations, videos, films, articles, posts at subscribestar.com/liftingtheveil. Patreon has suspended this work and my account and income stream for this content. So if you are a supporting patron, then please, I ask you to move your support over to subscribestar.com/liftingtheveil. And I have just established a completely free, uncensored, totally free speech social media platform that replaces Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, every other platform all in one on liftingtheveil.locals.com. You can download the Locals app and you can join our group and have totally free speech and totally uncensored, unrestricted content access. And there is also a ton of exclusive content, and I will leave the cited reference links in the description down below. So you can check that out for all of my full content, and I will see you guys in the next video. I rely solely on word of mouth, and the recommended algorithms are not recommending any of my videos or films anymore. My channel has literally been completely restricted, so I rely on your help by sharing my work around if you appreciate it, and leave me your comments. I definitely want to know what you have to share and what you have to think about all of this stuff, and I will see you in the next video.